Hello, and today we are going to be comparing the low and ultra settings of Fallout 4 side by side. I'm making this video because Fallout is all back in fashion at the moment, as Amazon has just made their first season of the Fallout TV series, and Fallout 4 itself has had a bit of an update from Bethesda, which no doubt will break everyone's mods, but there you go. So I have reinstalled Fallout 4, and as it happens, I have got a slightly improved system than when I first played it. So I think it's a good opportunity to try out ultra settings. I have to point out a couple of things about my system. It is actually quite old, but it was beefy once upon a time. I am running it on Linux as well, so the graphics possibly will look different compared to Windows, a little bit maybe. I will put my system's specs in the video description if you are interested. My system is kind of peculiar. I have two graphics cards, two Radeon RX 590 in Crossfire, and that most games can't really use two graphics cards. Fallout 4 actually seems to do it quite well, as Skyrim does as well. It was both those games came out in that narrow period of time where Crossfire was quite well supported by games designers, at least some of them. Nowadays it's quite rare, probably never happens, and prior to sort of Skyrim it didn't happen either. I do have a very good motherboard for Crossfire as well, because it's quite important to have enough lanes on your second graphic card's PCI slot, or PCI Express slot. Because if it doesn't, then the other card will just not have enough bandwidth for talking to the other card. Whereas I've got 16 lanes on each one, so it's actually works quite well. Otherwise, I wouldn't at all recommend having Crossfire, because of course most games don't use it. If you can, you want to have one really good graphics card rather than two middling ones, and that most of the time will not be doing anything for you. There's not all that much wrong with low settings, as you can see. It's perfectly playable. Indeed, there doesn't seem to be that much difference between low and ultra at this time. However, we are still inside the vault. You might call this dungeon mode. And this is quite a smaller world compared to the outside. And as we will see later, when we get outside, the differences between low and ultra start to widen quite dramatically. I've made a few cuts here and there just to sort of try to make things line up a bit better. Obviously, as I went through each run, I didn't always take the same time to do things. As a PC player, I do have obviously some grumbles with Fallout 4's more console-inspired gameplay and user interface. But apart from that, I do think Fallout 4 has really got a lot more going on in it than most of the previous 3D Fallouts. Like Fallout 3, the followers were really shallow. Modding as well was pretty simple and primitive. There were a few designs you could get and whatnot. New Vegas was really pretty much the same as Fallout 3. I know some people really love it. In terms of story, it was better. You know, it was good that you had a lot of multiple different endings that you could pursue. And the followers were better, but the gameplay was still pretty poor. What Fallout 4 has going for it really is the modding system is much better. You can really do a lot with your guns. I mean, I'm talking about gun mods and armor mods and things like this. And of course, the settlement system is quite fun, and there's quite a lot going on with that. It doesn't work perfectly well, but it's quite a nice thing for interacting with the world in a way that feels more sandboxy. And its other great advantage, of course, is the power armor. Now, some people might not like that you get it too early compared to Other Fallouts, you would really have to work, get quite deep into the game before you could really use power armor. But it was just basically a wearable armor, same as the other thing. Whereas, obviously, with Fallout 4, it's almost like it's quite a substantial thing, and you have to get in and out of it. And when you get out of it, you have to leave it behind. It's not in your inventory anymore. One quite big change that Fallout 4 made that I didn't like at first was streamlining of the character building elements. So in the earlier Fallouts, actually going all the way back to the first one, Fallout 1, you had the special system for your primary stats, and then you had skills, and then you had perks. So you had those three basic elements to your character design. And that stayed all the way up till, I think New Vegas had the same system as well. But Fallout 4 got rid of skills, or they sort of folded skills into the perk tree. First, it's sort of your sort of rage nerd comes out, and you're like, well, you can't change things like that. No. But it actually is better. I mean, there's something to be said for it, in that besides making things more simpler, the perks were more interesting as well, because a lot of the perks in the older games really didn't change the gameplay that much. They were just sort of, you'd get a few extra points in a stat, or you'd get a few extra points in a skill, this kind of thing. It was very sort of granular rather than, it was quantitative instead of qualitative. Whereas Fallout 4 perks were qualitative. They did something, they added something, or they changed something, so you'd actually get new gameplay mechanics with your perks. Ah, the great outdoors. Now things are going to get really interesting. This scene's quite interesting. You can definitely see a difference when looking over the Sanctuary Hills. I suppose that's the shadow distance. The low settings don't draw the shadows very far, whereas on Ultra they are. They're actually painted in there. And as we go down this little slope, you can see that the close shadows are really janky in low and really quite nice and smooth in Ultra. I think that's probably the thing that really makes Ultra worth it, is those nice shadows, because that's quite immersion breaking when you see sort of janky looking shadows like that when playing on low. It is entirely possible I might be inspired to make some more Fallout 4 content, or just Fallout content. So subscribe if you'd like to see some more of that. There's Codsworth, and you can see the shadows on him as well are pretty bad. Look at that on low, and nice and smooth on Ultra. It's all about the shadows, isn't it, with Ultra? Here's another difference between low and Ultra. In this scene, we've got our character in the foreground, and the background is fully in focus in low, but there is a sort of depth of field simulation going on in Ultra, where the background is progressively blurred to give a suggestion of focus being on the character. So look at Codsworth's left eye there, the little metal plate below the leftmost eye. You can see there how much better the reflections and shadows work on Ultra. There we go. Do please like, subscribe, and share this content, and bye for now.